Welcome to the Brand and Hustle podcast, the no fluff, no bull broadcast for busy entrepreneurs who need fast, effective business strategies. Get ready to build your business, your brand, and your bank account with Master Brand Coach Jay Stone.
Okay, guys, so apparently Kelis's milkshake brought all the bees to the yard. This past couple of weeks, online debates have heated up on ownership versus integrity. Let's get into the Kelis and Beyonce debate right now. Okay, folks, the internet has been heating up. So Beyonce dropped a new album, and of course, all the beehive has been out buying and buzzing, and they seem to really feel good about this piece of work. With the exception of this little blip by the name of Kelis. So if you don't know who Kelis is, let me just tell you, she's an artist that really had a lot of popularity. If you don't know who she is, Kelis. She was married to Nas, but before she was married to Nas, she had this little hit called Milkshake, right? My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and their life is better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I have to charge. Okay, I went all the way back to my club days. All right, so she went out. So she had some popularity back in the day. All right. And she's now kind of retired from the industry or withdrawn from the industry. She's a chef. She's doing some other stuff. Right. But she was super upset, saying that because she has a rapport with Beyonce, she expected that Beyonce would reach out. It's not about, for her, she said, it's not about ownership. It's not about the rights. It's not about money. Just like, sis, you know me. You could have gave me a heads up. You could have said, hey, I like this song. I want to sample it. I want to use it. I'm going to give you credits, like that. And she says, if you're all about women's empowerment, that's just how a sister should treat another sister. That was her position on it. Okay. Well, the internet there's two hefty sides of the debate, right? And people have been debating like they got like skin in the game, really. One side of it says legally, okay, Beyonce didn't have to notify her. She got the right, Pharrell sold her the rights, the royalty to use this, to sample it. She gave her a credit on the album, which we found out later. She apparently gave her a credit on the album. Okay. And they felt that was fair, right? Just be grateful that you're irrelevant, and just be grateful that she made you relevant again. That's the one side of the debate on ownership, legality, right? The other side of the debate is on ethics. Okay. Ethically, first of all, don't make the assumption that everybody wants to be on your album, like with Beyonce. And I think most people will be flattered, but maybe some people might not be, right? So you can't make the assumption, right? If you know someone, you have a rapport, just out of courtesy, just give them a heads up, just say it. She didn't owe her that, but ethically, right? That's just kind of the way you handle things, and that's the way you navigate professional and even personal relationships, right? So it's kind of like you wouldn't borrow somebody's earrings and then later be like, girl, I borrowed your earrings, but I gave you a shout out, right? That's kind of how it's being perceived. So as you can see, the two sides of the debate are pretty hefty. Okay. So then this week, Beyonce goes back, removes the sample from the song. Okay. And removes Kelis as credit, right? And people are like, oh my gosh, she interrupted, now she ain't getting a check. Now she's obstructed Pharrell's check, blah, blah, blah. And other people are like, well, I think Kelis probably made her point, right? Kelis was like, you didn't give me a heads up, and don't just be using my shit. And now she ain't using her shit. So that's where we at with it, right? So I don't think Kelis is upset. I think she might feel like she was finally heard. And basically, this is what you should have done. So now let me break this down for you and give you my take on it. Okay. While I certainly can say Beyonce was not legally wrong in anything she did, I do have to say I feel like I'm with Kelis on the ethics part, right? And I'll show you, talk to you about how this shows up. First, this is not the first person that's had an issue with Beyonce taking liberties with their artwork. Now, there's been several lawsuits with people, mostly people from other countries, right, that have said, hey, she used up my work, or her video is an imitation of my video, and things like that. And I don't know how much traction it got, but there were several lawsuits that kind of swooned around here in the last 10 years or so, right? But one of the most verbal people was Etta James, who did not write At Last, but is certainly infamous for singing At Last. And then Beyonce sang it for the Obamas in their inauguration and did it a few other times, and never even said, shout out to Etta James, or the great Etta James once sang this. I want to pay homage to her. Just didn't even talk to her, didn't even mention. So Etta got pretty upset. And if you know Etta, if you've seen the movie Cadillac Records, we know Etta James, honey. She's for them streets, baby. She ain't finna play with you. So she done got on stage to sing the song and totally cussed Beyonce out. And the video went viral, okay, because you didn't give me a heads up. Now, on the flip side of that, you got Frankie Beverly and Maze, where Beyonce sang his song on the Homecoming soundtrack. Never told him about it, right? There is some credits given, and I'm assuming there's some royalties paid, but he didn't know about it in advance. But he was flattered. Right? So that turned out well. So that's the whole thing. You never know how an artist is going to feel in regards to their work being sampled, whether they own it or not. Right? So I come from a generation, Gen Xers, where we are really very relationship driven, and ethically you just want to give them a heads up. But let me just talk to you about how other industries work, because you guys want to get all into the legality of it. So I've had my artwork, graphics and things like that, photos of myself and photos of other people featured in major media outlets. When I am paid to teach a course that's videotaped, I've had all of this stuff where the copyright comes in place, right? So the copyright, I have to give a copyright release on all my artwork. I have to get a photographer to give me a copyright release for any photos of me or my clients to be released. I've even had training materials that's going to be produced and sold. Artwork in the background. If we, sometimes it's artwork that's like prints. Sometimes if it's not original artwork that they can get the artist to sign off of, I've actually had to remove artwork in the background. And if you're in television, you know that, right? If you're looking at reality TV or movies and things like that, artwork is licensed, and if they can't get a license, they don't use it. And all this is done beforehand, right? All this is done beforehand. It's not like, oh, we use the artwork and then we just give them a credit or we just pay them royalties. They basically technically have to have permission. Music industry is notorious for sampling and taking. And so there's so many lawsuits for so many artists. Pharrell had this issue with Alan Thicke and the Blurred Lines song. Michael Bolton got sued a lot. I mean, there's just been a lot of, Ray Charles sued a lot of people. So that is really common with they sample, but they sample too much music, or the sample can only be so long, or you can't steal the lyrics. The music industry has a lot of convoluted, incestuous stuff around music and sampling. Okay. So every other industry has already figured it out. So I'm really of the mindset, listen, beforehand, a lot of people say ask for forgiveness instead of permission. I'ma ask for forgiveness, for permission, or at least inform, of it. I'm the type of person. I'm the type of person where I don't want you to come up to me and give me credit as an afterthought when you didn't communicate as a forethought. Okay? So that's just kind of it for me. That's just kind of where I am with it. So bottom line is I'm siding with Khalees. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Don't worry, there are more episodes of Brand & Hustle on the way. But if you can't wait to learn more badass business strategies, head on over to jaistone.com. That's JAISTONE.com. We'll see you next time.